You can hear the difference. Bright and beautiful music. KIXI, Seattle.
CBS News is next. The time, 11 p.m.
CBS News. President Ford will soon ask Congress for Mideast military and economic aid now that final approval for the use of American technicians in the Sinai has been given. This is Doug Poling reporting on the CBS Radio Network. The president on Monday signed that resolution authorizing the assignment of 200 American civilians to early warning stations in the desert. In signing the measure, the president said he's going to ask Congress for something else.
I will soon consult Congress on what is required to sustain these bilateral relationships, just as the administration has consulted Congress very fully over the past month on the latest diplomatic step, including the use of United States civilians to further the peace process. We anticipate the same support and understanding by the Congress.
The president also said the United States wants to maintain a diplomatic offensive in the Middle East in order to sustain the momentum toward peace generated by the Sinai agreements. Two top Israeli officials say the chances of any kind of a settlement with Syria do not look good. Foreign Minister Yigal Allon said the Syrians do not appear to be interested in either an interim or a final peace agreement. Defense Minister Shimon Peres said the belligerent tone of recent statements from Syria did not augur well for peace efforts. Near Salem, Illinois, Monday night, heavily armed police using bloodhounds captured 2 of 4 escaped convicts from the maximum security federal prison in Marion, Illinois. They were caught after they'd gone to doors of homes in the area asking for water. They said they'd had none since Saturday. 2 others who escaped with them remain at large. A 5th escapee was caught over the weekend. Republican Senator John Tower of Texas is trying to get support for a proposed anti-busing amendment to the Constitution. It would forbid the use of forced busing to achieve racial balance in the public schools. In Austin, Texas, Tower said he is not against school desegregation itself.
We should have desegregation. We should have integration. But that doesn't mean forced busing to achieve racial balance. As a matter of fact, forced busing really flies in the teeth of the Brown decision that desegregated the schools. Because what did the Brown decision say? It said the students should not be assigned on the basis of race or color. When you're busing, that's precisely what you're doing.
Tower showed reporters a copy of a letter from President Ford supporting the proposed anti-busing amendment. President Ford is doing more traveling on Tuesday. He'll fly to Hartford, Connecticut to take part in a Republican fundraising affair and try to win support for his proposed $28 billion tax cut, coupled with that federal spending reduction of the same amount. Paul O'Neill, Deputy Director of the Office of Budget and Management, says the Ford administration has drawn a list of more than $28 billion in proposed budget cuts. O'Neill would not talk about specifics where the president wants to cut spending, but he did say all major areas of the federal government are involved, including defense spending. Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau of Canada Monday night announced imposition of a strict program of wage and price controls in his country to fight inflation. Trudeau said wage hikes will be limited to 10% a year and price hikes limited to that necessary to cover increased production costs. Emperor Hirohito of Japan has ended his visit to the United States. The emperor and his wife, Empress Nagako, should be back in Tokyo about 3 hours from now. They left Honolulu getting a 21-gun salute as their plane departed. Governor George Wallace of Alabama Monday night met in London with British Prime Minister Harold Wilson. London is the first stop on a tour of Western Europe being undertaken, according to some, as a prelude to a Wallace candidacy for president. Wallace was quick to tell reporters his health is no problem. Wallace, crippled by that 1972 assassination attempt, says he'd been on the move all day with very little sleep and felt fine. This is Doug Poling, CBS News.
CBS News. The Canadian government has imposed stringent wage and price guidelines to reduce an inflation rate now running at 11% a year. I'm Jerry Landay, reporting on the CBS Radio Network. The controls apply, at least at the outset, only to the country's largest corporations and unions, but also include fees earned by doctors, lawyers, and accountants. The announcement made late Monday by Prime Minister Elliott Trudeau. The House Subcommittee on Civil and Constitutional Rights is to look into the FBI's relationship with Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Ruby before the assassination of President Kennedy. Documents recently uncovered reveal that Ruby was a paid informant for the FBI. Chairman Don Edwards says the purpose of the inquiry is not to reopen the Warren Commission report, but in his words, to set the record straight. Governor George Wallace's top political operative, Mickey Griffin, has warned the Democratic Party that the governor will not tolerate being cheated in the coming campaign. The remark being interpreted as a threat that Wallace intends to act as a spoiler on a third-party ticket if he feels himself the victim of an organized Stop Wallace movement. Griffin told the Democratic Executive Committee in Washington that the governor will soon officially be in the race.
Governor Wallace will shortly announce his intention for the Democratic nomination. And we are going to run in a good faith effort in every state. And we have talked with Democratic leaders at the national level and the state level and consistently asked one thing, that if we receive support in a state or an area, that we get exactly what we deserve.
Griffin's comments are apparently aimed at efforts by some state Democratic leaders to amend primary rules to hold down Wallace's delegate strength. It's war between Massachusetts and New Hampshire, otherwise known as the Battle of the Bottle. The Granite State has opened low-price liquor stores along the border on either side of an interstate highway. Low prices have lured customers from Massachusetts, where liquor costs are high. Massachusetts has staked out the New Hampshire enterprises with plainclothesmen to record the license numbers of homeward-bound Bay Staters who've bought over the 3-gallon limit. New Hampshire warns it will retaliate by arresting the Massachusetts cops as loiterers. I'm Jerry Landay, CBS News.